Committee of the Whole meeting for January 16, 2024 is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Yamas. Alderwoman Garza.
Here.
Alderman Masiacos.
Present.
Alderman Donnell.
Here.
Alderman Franco.
Here.
Alderman Seville.
Here.
Alderman Tolliver.
Here.
Alderwoman Smith.
Here.
Alderman Bug.
Here.
Alderwoman Bade.
Here.
Alderman Lash.
Present.
Alderman Warman.
Here.
Mayor Irvin's present.
And just so you know, Alderman Yamas has notified us that he will be present. However, he'll be a few minutes late, but he's on his way. We're just going to go ahead and get started without him. Alderman Bug and Alderman Seville request permission to participate remotely per Section 2-80 based on a reasonable anticipation of an extended illness. There's been a motion made by Alderman Garza, seconded by Alderman Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries by voice vote. There is 23-1055 approval of the draft closed session
So moved.
meeting minutes from
Second.
December 2023. There's been a motion made by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Garza. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries by voice vote. And just to clarify, that's draft closed session meeting minutes from December 19, 2023. All right. Can I have a approval of the minutes for January 2nd, 2024?
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Franco, seconded by Alderman Lash. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries by voice vote. Mr. Muhammad, do we have any presentations this evening? All right, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. We have our staff presentation from the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, the Community Events Division. I'll turn it over to our events director. Just want to thank you all last night, those who can make it to the MLK ceremony. A wonderful time we had celebrating the life and legacy of Dr. King, the memory of Alderwoman Hart Burns, and just our community as a whole. As a conversation I had with Alderwoman Smith, she emphasized just the importance of having youth involved in things. And so we saw that, last night as we, build up our next generation and honor them for their service, so that they can continue to serve into their adulthood. Last night was the first event hosted by the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, Community Events Division, and we now head into a year-long series of events. I know it's bitterly cold out now, but we think about the 4th of July parade and the fireworks and the farmers market and all those wonderful things that happens. It's certainly a time for us to share that with you tonight. Our events division, a team of 5, led by Mike Nelson, and they process hundreds of applications for city events. Those who are doing events throughout the city, parades and runs and walks and things of that sort. They partner with dozens of organizations for advice and counsel on events. And then the department and the division hosts its own a number of events as well, a couple dozen as well. And so tonight we're just going to give you a broad overview of those events that are hosted by and produced by the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, Community Events Division. And we're going to group them in categories as opposed to looking throughout the year. So I'm going to turn it over now to our Community Events Director, Mike Nelson.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Here we go again. We've got another great year of events happening in 2024. We're already knee-deep in so many of them. Oh, sorry, Sam. Starting with our parades. We have a year-full list of parades happening this year, kicking off with our St. Patrick's Day Parade on Sunday, March 17th. We've got our Memorial Day Parade on Monday, May 27th, our Pride Parade on Sunday, June 9th, our 4th of July Parade on Thursday, July 14th, our Pooch Parade, one of my favorites, on Sunday, October 6th, our Veterans Day Parade on Monday, November 11th, and our Winter Lights Parade on Friday, November 22nd. It's also important to note that our Independence Day fireworks will occur on the evening of July 3rd, Wednesday, July 3rd. We started that last year. It worked very well for us and our resources and whatnot. So we'll be doing that again this year. We also have, everybody loves our farmers market. Our wonderful Aurora Farmers Market will kick off on the first Saturday in June, Saturday, June 1st. It will run all the way through the first Saturday in October, October 5th. We're expanding it this year. We'll have a few additional vendors. We're being a little more selective on criteria and whatnot. We have a great, I have a great teammate, Felicia Freitag, who has grown so much with her market knowledge and is trained on farmers market managing and whatnot, and she's really amplified it from what my coworker Carla Thomas and I did a few years ago. So we're excited about that. We'll also be bringing back our Wednesday market on the west side. That right now is tentative to run from June 26th through August 14th. We're very excited this year. I've had a few conversations with Katrina Boatwright and some others. We're focused on enhancing our services, if you will. Right now we've got some senior and handicap parking, but we're looking at what else can we do, kind of partnering with some of our local in-house groups. How can we make our events, our farmers market, and other things more accessible and provide a better experience for our customers, our patrons.
Mr. Nelson, before
Mike,
you
can
move
I-
on from the farmers market, Alderman Franco
Can
has
I
a
ask a question?
Yeah.
The west side one, do we have a location for that? Is that going to be West Plaza again, or?
We do. Tentative right now for West Plaza. We've been able to receive permission from the property owner to use the same location. It works really well for us. Obviously, that location, there is some activity, I believe. They may or may not be available for use in 2025, but it works for us right now. But we are this year looking at other locations as well, if in the event that we have to relocate.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Go ahead, continue.
We partner with the Community Events Division, along with our EDI division, our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion division, for our flag raisings. You know, when we kind of equate it to, your first man lands on the moon, you places the flag and just shows that I'm here and I belong here. And that's our whole focus on inclusion in Aurora and belonging by hosting our flag raising ceremonies. We hosted 9 of them last year, and that grew from 6 the year before. The Irish flag raising ceremony, which pairs with the St. Patrick's Day parade that Mike spoke about, kicking us off in March. We also have, in March as well, our Greek flag raising ceremony. In June, our Pride and Juneteenth flag raising. In July, the Puerto Rican flag raising. In August, the Bolivian and the Indian flag raising. September, the Mexican flag raising, and we close out in October with our German flag raising. We've been approached by 2 other sections of our community for additions in this coming year. The Colombian flag raising in July for those of our residents of Colombia, and the Pakistan flag raising, and as they formed a group and really want to get more involved in the community, specifically as Pakistanis. And that will also be the day before the Indian flag raising on August 14th. Both of those nations experiencing their independence a day apart the same year. So we look forward to watching these continue to grow. We always appreciate your participation. It speaks volumes.
Before we move on, Alderman Franco has a question or concern. I expect it's going to be about the Italian flag.
Definitely, yeah.
Yes, it is. So,
Yeah.
yes, I had a question about
Yeah.
that, because I actually thought we were going to do that this past year.
Definitely.
And I know the state of Illinois has recognized the month of October as Italian American month because of
Definitely.
the Columbus Day thing and stuff. So I was hoping
Yep.
that next fall we can kind of do that. If we could throw it out there somewhere.
We certainly will, and ultimately we didn't put up here, but we looked at Italian Independence Day in April, or Italian American Heritage Month in October. We'll sit and definitely talk with you to see which one works out best for us there. Yeah, for sure.
I actually have a question.
Alderman Smith?
Alderman Franco, since this seems to be about you. Do you allow the people from the east side to come over to the west side farmers market?
Well,
On
there's a toll to
Wednesdays?
pay, but yes, that would be fine. I don't think there's a problem with that at all.
Thank you.
Again, we appreciate your participation at the flag raising. It speaks volumes to those communities when our leadership is there, front row, representing. So we look forward to watching these continue to grow, and would like to be like the largest cities, hosting 20 plus or more of different nations each year, and we'll build up and grow to that. But again, our last one in October, the German flag raising, which then leads us right into the Halloween season here. Halloween
Halloween at City Hall, one of my favorite events. it is a fun one. We'll continue that this year on Thursday, October 31st. We'll encourage all of our city departments to line the Water Street Mall and pass out candy. It's so moving to be there. So many parents are using that as their opportunity to take their children trick-or-treating. So for us, we get a first kind of a glimpse, if you will, of what is to come that evening, who's dressed up as what. It's a lot of fun. We have a great time. I love this. All right, so this picture at the top was taken from this year. So what was once probably one of our smallest events that we produced each year, Winter Lights, has grown into one of the largest events that we produce. I am thrilled about that. I'm thrilled to be able to say that. This year was insanely awesome, or 2023, I'm sorry. We had a record-breaking number for attendance. We had about 7,000 people. In past years, we'd see anything from 2,500, 3,000, maybe 4,000. This year, literally, people were hanging from the rafters on the Stope Island parking deck. We've never had that before. It was such a moving, awesome, exciting experience. Being on the street, seeing the crowds of people, it was really wonderful. That will kick off on Friday, November 22nd from 6 to 9 p.m., Downer Place.
That same night, we opened the Chris Kindle Market. As we have the last couple of years, this will be our third annual one this year. And as reported at the last city council meeting, very successful second annual Chris Kindle Market with 240,000 people in attendance. And I believe Alex Alexandria reported on the parking revenue of upwards of 400,000. And so when we bring in the holiday season, Winter Light kicks that off for us. In this part of downtown, when Chris Kindle Market is at the River Edge section of downtown, and to watch that cross-section of individuals walking back and forth was pretty amazing, coming up and down Broadway this year. So we like the energy. And that pairs then right with our Festival of Lights, which opens this Saturday. The next day, giving some relief for our EMA and for our police department, so everyone doesn't have to do everything on the same night. And we'll kick off the 18th year, and we'll look at bringing some new displays and things of that sort. But the 17th year, wonderful success, 52,000 vehicles, $80,000 raised, and so it just becomes a nice and a wonderful holiday season with these three events, coupled, or paired with the Paramount show that we know is Frozen this coming year. Just really brings nice energy in a holiday season here in downtown Aurora and Aurora as a whole when it comes to the Festival of Lights. So that takes us through the year. Are there any questions for Mike?
Alderman Smith. Then
Yeah,
Alderman
just
Lash.
can we, you shared a lot of dates. Could we get those
Yes,
to our chief?
absolutely.
Jeff, so
Yep.
that he can share those with us?
absolutely. I'll send them to Rich ASAP.
Thank you.
Yes,
Alderman
sir.
Lash.
Didn't we also
Mr.
have
Mayor?
a,
Hold on, sir, just 1 second, Alderman Bug. Alderman Lash is,
Okay.
so then I'll call you in next.
didn't we also have some shadow light show? When is that scheduled to be in the downtown area? And then I think we also
We
were
do.
planning a large Juneteenth event, is it?
We do. The Light Fest is being kind of executed by our wonderful Jen Byrne. My team and I will be helping her every step of the way. I'm very excited about that. I think it's going to be amazing, and that'll kick off in October. More details to come with that, but it's going to be, Aurora downtown will be illuminated, that's for sure.
Juneteenth?
Juneteenth?
Yeah.
Definitely. We expanded our Juneteenth activities last year. Of course, Rick Rogers and African American of Unity for 22 years have done their Juneteenth ceremony. We picked our flag raising up, and from a city perspective, last year we had added in a Juneteenth Youth Summit that the mayor has renamed both of the flag raising and the Youth Summit after the late Alderwoman. And this year, as we work with the Quad County African American Chamber of Commerce, African American of Unity, African American Heritage Advisory Board, looking at a bigger Juneteenth event, including a possible concert, and activities that takes it to a Juneteenth week, beginning that Sunday, Father's Day, with Rick Rogers' event carrying through our flag raising. Juneteenth's on a Wednesday this year, Alderman, but concluding that week with a concert and festivities here in downtown Aurora. But definitely more information to come soon on that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Bug?
Thank you. Following up on Alderwoman Smith's comment, I know, of course, the Far East Side Farmers Market, that kind of was a casualty of COVID, and we had some lower numbers. We were going to reconsider that coming out of COVID. So I wanted to see if we had looked at that again, of course, with new residents around the Fox Valley Mall or different areas that we could possibly go to. Have we taken a look at that again?
Sure. We have not yet. To be honest, I kind of rely on the older people to provide me with locations. If you think a market would do well somewhere, then we'll look at it. Everyone here is an expert in their ward. If you have a location that you think is worth us looking at, please let me know, and my team and I will definitely look into that. Absolutely.
Is it possible, now I don't know how we determined we were going to put farmers market on the west side versus keeping it downtown, but
Sure.
is it possible before we just pick a spot, whether it's in Ward 8, Ward 9, Ward 10, out there, to do some type of survey to see the interest of people in having a farmers market?
Sure. Absolutely. Of course.
Thank you.
Yes. Anybody else? Any questions?
Any other questions? Thank you very much. We appreciate
Thanks,
everything
everybody.
you do, brother, and we look forward to everything you're going to do in 2024.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our mayor's report. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to offer public comment?
We do not.
All right, let's go on to the next portion of the agenda, committee reports. Chairwoman Patty Smith, can you give the Building, Zone, and Economic Development Committee report, please?
Oh my God. The Building, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee met on January 10th, 2024, and reviewed the following items. 231034, an ordinance providing for the execution of annexation agreement with the owners of record providing for R2C, one-family dwelling district, R4AC, two-family dwelling district, B2C, general retail district, and OS1C, conservation open space and drainage district with a conditional use zoning for the territory which may be annexed to the city of Aurora, located at the southeast corner of Ogden Ave and Farnsworth Ave on vacant land in Kendall and Kane County, Aurora, Illinois, 60503 and 60504. Jill, do you want to go through I'll go through all of them first, okay. Next item, 231035, an ordinance annexing certain property being vacant land located at the southeast corner of Ogden Ave and Farnsworth Ave to the city of Aurora, Kendall County, Illinois, 60503, pursuant to the approved annexation agreement. Next item is 631036, an ordinance annexing certain property being vacant land located at the southeast corner of Ogden Ave and Farnsworth Ave to the city of Aurora, Kane County, Illinois, 60504, pursuant to the approved annexation agreement. Next item, 231037, an ordinance establishing a conditional use planned development approving the Wheatland Crossing plan description and the amending Chapter 49 of the Code of Ordinance, City of Aurora, by modifying the zoning map attached thereto to an underlined zone of R2, one-family dwelling district, R4A, two-family dwelling district, B2, general retail district, OS1, conservation, open space, and draining district to the property located at the southeast corner of Ogden Ave and Farnsworth Ave. And lastly, 231038, a resolution approving the preliminary plan and plot for lots 1-1001 Wheatland Crossing subdivision on vacant land located at the southeast corner of Ogden Ave and Farnsworth Ave, and I believe we have a presentation on this.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes, thank you, Alderwoman. We have the petitioner here, has a brief presentation, a little shorter what they were presented at BZE. But before they come forward, I just wanted to make some notes of what some items, issues that were or concerns that were brought up at BZE and how those have been addressed. One concern, just very briefly, this is
First, just so everybody's clear, just give the location of where it's at, what's around it, and why there's the concerns.
Yeah, so this is the southeast corner of Ogden Avenue and Farnsworth Avenue. It kind of makes a little bit of a U shape, and they have a site plan that shows it around the concrete plant. So they're doing a mixed-use development right at the corners. They're proposing commercial, and then kind of at the ends along the more higher intense streets, townhomes, and then some single families as well. So the concerns that were brought up at BZE, one was the rentals that comes up with
So the
for our
what? The what?
townhomes. Rentals.
The rentals.
Yeah, so eliminating the townhomes, how many of those could be rentals? It's not something that's regulated by zoning, but the petitioner was amenable to it, so they have we altered their annexation agreement to include that within their CC&Rs there is going to be a maximum 30% rental for townhomes. As well, so that was added. That was one change that we added to the annexation agreement. We also added.
So just to be clear,
Yes.
D.R. Horton's going to maintain ownership
They,
or allow rentals? So purchase, and then they can rent them out. Gotcha.
yes, it will be within the CC&Rs
Gotcha.
that will manage it once D.R. Horton is
All right,
no longer owning the property.
So investors can buy them and use them for rentals?
Yes, up to 30%. Another item that was brought up for concern was the concrete plant and making sure that all homeowners, future homeowners, realize that there is a concrete plant there. D.R. Horton has stated that is part of what they will, any potential buyer, they have to sign off that they were told that. But we also added it as a condition linked to the conditional use plan development, that it's a condition that D.R. Horton or any successors make sure all future homeowners are aware that there is a concrete plant that's zoned currently heavy manufacturing within the county.
Alderman Smith, and then D.R.
How and where are you going to make that residential acknowledgement? And perhaps,
I'm sorry, Alderman Smith, I didn't hear, how and where what?
how and where will that residential acknowledgement be made?
I think that's a question for D.R.
Representatives
Horton.
from Horton?
All right, so I feel like we're kind of jumping right in the middle here. So Russ Whitaker, Rosenhoven, and Whitaker on behalf of D.R. Horton. I think a site plan here is helpful context for what we're talking about. So to the mayor's question, this is a for sale community. So D.R. Horton primarily builds and sells homes. They're the nation's largest home builder, the largest home builder in the Illinois market. Here we've got a 194 unit community that is 2 pods of townhomes. There's a sort of south pod of townhomes located along Farnsworth Avenue. To the north of where you see the carve out that is the concrete plant, there's actually a creek that bisects the property. There's a lot of permitting that's going to happen with crossing that creek. So the townhome portion north of the creek and then a couple of the single family homes south of the creek will be part of a phase 2 development. But in total, 124 townhomes, 70 single family homes will comprise the residential community. Our expectation is not that these will be investor purchased homes. We expect that they will be homeowners buying and living in these homes. As we all know, life circumstances change over time, and we run into scenarios where homeowners end up maybe not selling a home, but renting it either long-term or for periods of time. So the modification of the declaration is going to allow someone who purchased the home to be able to rent the home. But to be clear, D.R. Horton will not retain ownership or will not themselves rent any portion of the homes.
And before you move on, sir, Alderman Seville, are you on?
Yes, sir.
I know that's normally a concern of yours, so you want to address that now before we move on?
Yes, we have discussed this with staff as well as the last PCD committee meeting. So this is something that we've approved, and annexation agreements before, and we've usually capped it anywhere from 10 to 30%, and the developer is requesting 30%, which is the maximum that FHA requires for government-financed mortgages. So I think we can, I can be happy with the end result. So.
Alderman Lash.
Just a quick point of clarification. After the builder is gone, the developer is gone, does the HOA maintain that 30%, or does the city, the HOA?
That is correct. So the annexation agreement was modified such that the declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions, which is sort of like the operating document for the homeowners association, that declaration will include the maximum 30% rental restriction. So the HOA would thereafter be responsible for enforcement of that provision. And then frankly, with it being in the annexation agreement, the city would also have ability to enforce that for the term of the annexation agreement, which is 20 years.
However, to be clear, the city never enforces that with private property owned by other people. So it's up to the HOA to make that. We'd be doing stuff like that all day, every day if we did it. So it's, right, exactly right.
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Seville.
Yeah, and then we have too, once the HOA, the homeowners association gets up and running, they can actually choose to be even more restrictive, to embark upon a lower percentage or not to allow them at all, but that would be their choice.
Yep. Continue.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about the residential component. This is obviously a major intersection of two major thoroughfares in the city of Aurora. So I do want to call out that we have a commercial component of the development. Sort of the orange segment that's blocked out at the corner of Farnsworth and Ogden is set aside for 4.25 acres of commercial property. If you look just south of our development parcel, you'll see that there's similar commercial development on the south side of Farnsworth Avenue. So we're really kind of taking what's out there in the current environment, we're flipping it onto the other side of Farnsworth and replicating that. We've set forth some permitted use, some permitted uses and some prohibited uses that have been negotiated with staff in the annexation agreement and the plan description that is approved by the property. Approved for the property. I would note that Horton is not a commercial developer, they are a residential developer, so we will be constructing the infrastructure necessary to facilitate the future commercial development. That commercial parcel will be retained by the current owner of the property and sold for future commercial development. A couple other quick details. I wanted to call this out as we had some conversations in the community and with some of the aldermen. There was question about the level of improvement, sort of the character of the community. So what we wanted to do here is show a little bit of the embellishment. We feel like this will be a very nice higher-end community in the city of Aurora. The intent is to put up some very nice monument entry signs. You can see that we've got a couple of different entry signs that we're depicting here. In the bottom right-hand corner, you see the element, which is a landscape plan detail that's had some color added to it to just kind of help show the embellishment at that entrance. Again, landscape can go a long way towards help establishing the character of the community, and we've very much leaned into the landscape improvement. In the bottom left-hand section of the screen, you can see sort of an artistic rendering of what some of that landscape embellishment will look like. So we think this will create a very nice entrance to the community. As I drive through parts of even the industrial district in Aurora up off Liberty, I'm always struck by the boulevard-style roads and all of the large trees. And it's a very nice area of town, even though it's an industrial development. So the intent is of similar character with additional landscape enhancements to help establish the character of the community. Additional item, while there are no dedicated park spaces as part of this project, there's a lot of park space adjacent. We coordinated with the park district. There was no request for dedicated parkland. In the northern segment of the community, we do have what will be a private HOA owned and operated playground. You can see here, it's not a large space, it's just under an acre, but there's some open green space for a play area. There's also a small playground and some associated pedestrian seating. This is also right at the northern entrance and exit to the community. So I think this will also serve as a design feature, creating some additional open space amongst that northern pod of townhomes. Speaking of the townhomes, this is an elevation of the townhomes that we will be building. You may recall that Horton was before you a couple years ago. Right across the street in Deerbrook, there was a townhome community that was not completed. Horton purchased the developed lots in Deerbrook. They worked with the city, they worked with the homeowners association, and ended up very successfully building out the rest of that Deerbrook community. This is the exact same product that we built in Deerbrook. It's got a different face to it. It's got different elevations, a little more modern in character. In Deerbrook, we're fitting within the character of existing homes. Here, we've got a blank slate, so we're kind of targeting what that modern buyer is looking for with more of the gray tones and modern design elements. You can see we've got two different townhome units ranging from 16 to 1,800 square feet. When we talk about the single-family homes, again, there's 70 single-family homes in the development. We've got a variety of different floor plans. You can see along the left-hand column. Those are the various floor plans we'll be offering. 2, 4, 6, 7 different floor plans. Of those 7 floor plans, 2 are ranches, aging community in the region. So there's a desire to be able to provide that alternative housing type with the ranches. So we've included those in the mix. But most of the homes we anticipate will be traditional 2-story homes ranging from 1,700 square feet up to approximately 3,000 square feet. We can talk about any of those details if you like, but often we like the pretty pictures, so here it is. Just a representative elevation of the homes that we'll be building. You can see that there's a variety of siding types from lap siding to horizontal to board and batten. There's masonry elements, different roof types, a lot of different articulation across the building that will help establish that higher-end character for the community. So with that, I think that kind of concludes high-level overview presentation. There's certainly a lot of other details embedded in the annexation agreement. Being at Farnsworth and Ogden, road improvements were a concern, and there are significant road improvements that we are undertaking as the developer. So if there's other questions, be happy to help answer those questions for you, Donnie.
Alderman Smith?
So, Jill knows what I'm going to say. So my question never got answered. And because this is being built, this is subdivision, townhomes are being built around a concrete center. We discussed in committee to have in writing somewhere, and I wanted to know where and how, that these people that are purchasing are acknowledging that they are being built around a concrete industrial building, that we have no control, that could come into, to full working order at any time. So again, we don't want 3 years from now to be sitting here with the residents coming and say, wait, now this place is open and operating, and all this dust and problems are being given to us as homeowners. So to alleviate that from the get-go, we need to find out where in writing are you going to put that these owners are going to acknowledge that they are purchasing around a concrete industry.
Yeah, and so just a little context to that statement, because we were at BZE and talked about this. So you can see the carve out in the middle is property that's not actually being annexed to the city of Aurora. The Horton, as developer of the property, made overtures over a couple years. We've been working on this project for a really long time. The company that owns that cement plant is a Brazilian company. We've made written offers. We've reached out verbally, requested the opportunity to buy the property. Unfortunately, we were not able to get control of that property. So it will remain outside of Aurora's jurisdiction. To the Alderwoman's comment, we had a conversation that this plant does not often operate. Typically, it operates a couple days a year. That's historically what's been going on here. There's another plant that's right across the street. You can see on the, whether you call it the north side or the west side of Ogden Avenue there, that plant operates on a very regular basis. The one that's next to us does not operate regularly. That being said, we do acknowledge that there is the capacity for that owner to begin regular operation of the plant. So we communicated, and as part of D.R. Horton's regular sales process, there's a disclosure that we provide to all homeowners. That disclosure is going to go through not only that there's a cement plant next door, but we're going to disclose things like there's a hospital that's also right next door. And so that hospital is going to have ambulances. There's probably going to be more sirens and ambulances going by this property than there would on a lot of other properties by virtue of that adjacency. So we will do a specific disclosure document for each of our home buyers. Those home buyers will ultimately sign off on that disclosure document, understanding that they recognize the context. There's going to be there's a creek that runs through the property. There's floodplain that touches part of the property, even though no homes will be in the floodplain. So there's a variety of issues that we will roll up into a consolidated document as part of a closing package. The homeowners will sign that disclosure document, and we would maintain that as part of our records associated with the sale of each home.
And I'd actually like to see this as part of the condition of this, because I just want to make sure this happens. I mean, having a creek going through your property is one thing, but, having a concrete company in the middle of and chances are it will never be used, but we have no control over that. There's a possibility that could go into full operation because the one across the street is. Just don't want to be dealing with that later on, something that we could have avoided right here today.
And we are absolutely agreeable to that condition.
Thank you.
Questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Bug?
a couple questions. Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. So the park features, you talked a little bit about that. So the park features are going to be turned over to the HOA and not to be Oswego or Fox Valley Park District. I don't know. It's brought on the border, isn't it?
Yeah, this is part of the Oswego Land Park District. When we had conversations with the Park District, we have one of the things I didn't talk about is roadway access, but you can see that Keating is to our south. We will be picking up that access at Keating. There are a number of parks down the street along Keating. The Park District felt as though this area was very well served by public parks, so they did not feel that there was a need for an additional public park. That being said, Horton is a responsible developer. We see the needs of the residents. We know that it's a little bit of a walk to get to some of the other public parks. So we kind of found that space. We're able to carve it out. Like I said, it's about an acre. It will be developed by Horton. Horton will build the benches. They will build the playground. They'll build all of the sidewalks for it. So fully paid for by Horton. And when we complete the development, it will in fact be turned over to the association. I would note that we're not seeking any reduction in any other fees. So while we are building a park and maintaining it privately on our site, we will still be paying full boat fees to the Oswego Land Park District.
Thank you. And my second question is just to get this clear, there is going to only be one HOA. There will not be an HOA for the single-family residential and one for the townhouses. There will be just one.
Yeah, so that is the expectation. There would be two different committees within a single association, and it's critical to do it that way because the costs associated with a townhome operation are very different than the costs associated with a single family home. By way of example, a roof replacement. In a single family home situation, the homeowner is responsible for the roof replacement. In a townhome situation, the association is responsible for the roof payment. So we would have two different committees within a single association. We would maintain separate budgets for those committees so that the townhome owners were paying into a separate pot to facilitate the capital repairs as they were necessary. I don't think you asked this question, but I would note that there will be a separate association, or there's an expectation that there would be a separate association for the commercial component of the project.
Alderman Lash?
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have a question?
Just a point of clarification to follow up on Alderwoman Smith's question. Are we going to amend this agreement before it moves to full council?
Ms. Morgan?
So how we handled Alderwoman Smith's concern about the concrete plant is we put it as a condition to the approval of the zoning. So it is something that if Horton fails to do it, that was a requirement, condition of us granting their zoning that we can enforce.
Thank you. And one other question, I think Alderwoman Bate had brought up at committee, the question about consideration for green building?
Yeah, it's sustainable practices is the question.
I'm leaning in more on energy efficiency.
Yeah, so I think I would note that we will build per modern energy efficiency codes. So homes that we will be building will be built to a much higher standard than homes that were built 2 years or 5 years ago. So right out of the bat, we'll be performing on a different level. I think one of the things that we didn't get into at BZE is that there are options that buyers can select in order to make their homes a little bit more green adaptable. So by way of example, there's the ability to put infrastructure in the wall to accommodate an electric vehicle charging station. A builder like Horton or Pulte or Lennar or any of the public builders are not going to take that charging device and they're not going to install it on a home. That is a very much a homeowner ad. They're just like they're not going to take solar panels and install them on a home, but there is the ability as part of the purchase process to include the infrastructure kind of behind the walls or into the electric box to make sure that those add-ons are possible, and we are absolutely committed to doing that.
I think state law requires that now.
I think there's some new requirements as of January 1st. You're absolutely right.
Yep. But with respect to added R value and green building standards that focus on energy efficiency, I know that the electrification side I understand is mandated, but is there any movement towards higher R values?
I think our commitment is to meet current building code standards, which again have been ratcheted up significantly over the last couple of years.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Bate?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a constant concern brought up by residents in different communities. So I'm asking this question that with this water retention pond, will this be drained to some other water body or will there be some fountains?
There are no fountains. There are some wetland features to it, so it'll be more of a naturalized basin. And then, as I said, there's do we outfall to the creek?
We do outfall.
And then so there is a natural water body that bisects the property in the creek, and so the detention basins will outfall to the natural creek.
Okay, so the water will be moving.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think the concern is that the water be stagnant and there be mosquitoes and things like that. So we need to make sure the water is constantly.
Got it. So it's really an either or proposition. We won't have enough standing water in the largest detention basin in order to be able to do a fountain. The design is small pockets of water, but that water is largely going to drain down so that it is a wetland management basin. I mean, these are best management practices that are encouraged by as part of the stormwater design. So Horton is the largest builder in the Chicagoland region. This is a traditional design that we would use in modern subdivision development. We would have done more stone around the edge with a fountain 10 and 15 years ago. That was very popular, but the regulations in many instances actually say, I don't know necessarily about Kane County, but in many counties today, we're not even allowed to do that. They're encouraging or requiring that wetland plantings because of all of the water quality benefits provided by it.
Any additional questions from the Alderman? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that concludes the report.
Well, we didn't determine what we're going to do with this. It's going to be unfinished. It's going to be consent.
Consent on all.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Jill, is there something that we need to do?
The annexation agreement will require a public hearing at City Council next week, so it needs
So
to
all
go-
of this needs to go on unfinished?
Unfinished,
All right.
yes.
Everything on unfinished so we can have the public hearing. Thank you very much. Let's go on to the Finance Committee report. Chairman Frankel, can you give that finance report for us, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Committee met on January 11, 2024, reviewed the following items. 23-0978, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the local public agency amendment for federal participation with the state of Illinois in amount not to exceed $228,109, and Phase 2 supplemental engineering services agreement with HR Green Incorporated and the city clerk to sign the appropriation of Rebuild Illinois bond funds for Montgomery Road and Hill Avenue intersection improvements, MFT number 19-00329-00-CH, in the amount of $228,109. And in order to continue with Phase 2, the city needs to set aside funds for the upfront cost. IDOT requires this resolution to appropriate the Rebuild Illinois funds.
Consent.
No objections, item go on consent.
Next one is 23-1045, a resolution to accept contract with Jen Lewin Studio LLC to lease the artwork The Pool for Aurora's October 2024 Public Art Light Festival.
Consent.
And the total cost, this is $98,000. And earlier, the city was awarded $192,779 in grant money with the city to match for the October event for a minimum of 4 displays.
No objections, item go on consent.
Thank you. And the last one is 24-0009, a resolution approving the Fifth Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Aurora, the City of Naperville, and Naperville Township Road District to widen North Aurora Road in the vicinity of the CNN Railroad crossing and to appropriate $3,136,378 MFT funds for the project. And the MFT funds will be allocated over 4 years with the project's projected completion the end of 2026.
Consent.
No objections, item go on consent.
And Mr. Mayor, that concludes the Finance Committee report.
Thank you, kind sir. Chairman Seville, are you going to give the Public Health, Safety, and Transportation Committee report, sir?
Actually, Mayor, the PHS&T committee did not have their meeting July 9th. It was canceled for lack of business.
Thank
And that's
you,
the
Mark.
report.
All right. Chairwoman Garza, can you give the Infrastructure and Technology Committee report? And I will note, for item 24-0001, staff has requested it go to unfinished at the next city council meeting on January 23rd. However, staff is going to give us a presentation today on that particular item. So read the other items other than 24-001.
Okay, Mayor. We met on January 8th. So the first item is 23-1056, a resolution authorizing the mayor to renew the intergovernmental agreement with the Fox Metro Water Reclamation District to provide maintenance service for the combined sewer overflow treatment facility located on 400 North Broadway, Aurora, Illinois.
Consent.
Objections, item going consent. You can go ahead and read the next one, and then we'll have.
And the next one is 24-0001, a resolution authorizing a procurement and advantage program, AP, for professional services for Environmental System Research Institute, ESR, at Redlands, California, in the amount of $108,300 for the 3-year term.
Staff.
So they want to put it unfinished?
Yeah, staff wants to go, staff available? Who is going to get, go ahead, you step up.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tim Shields, GIS Manager from the IT Department. This particular item is a 2024 decision package for the procurement of an Advantage program, which is professional services from Esri, our GIS software provider. The main purpose of this would be to assist us in utilizing the latest technologies to solve business challenges, execute against the geospatial strategy that we developed in collaboration with Esri, and expand the use of GIS throughout the organization. The Advantage program itself is a scalable framework that allows us to maximize our investment in the platform and lets us implement the technology to meet our specific organizational needs. Some of the technical challenges that we identified through the geospatial strategy initiative was legacy technologies, limited exposure to new technologies, staff with identified training needs, unreliable architecture, and poor public-facing content, or just content that we're putting out there that could be done better. So with the Advantage program, what's included in this package of professional services is a technical advisor who gets assigned to us as an additional member from Esri. We also get an annual planning meeting, a prioritized action plan, and learning and services activities, which could include business and technical consulting, premium support, training, technical certification, or conference registration. The advisor being the key piece of this, they are the person who provides continuity They lead the planning, they develop the technical work plan for us, they'll coordinate any of the professional services activities, and they provide ongoing advice throughout the engagement with Esri. What we've noticed through the evolution of GIS here at the City of Aurora, this slide kind of shows how we've evolved throughout the years. Kind of that first one where it's a GIS analyst and GIS desktop, that really harks back to 1996 when we first got Esri software and it was just one person who was doing the work. Fast forwarding to that middle bubble where we've got a more established GIS division here at the City of Aurora with a GIS manager, additional analysts, and additional staff. And then looking forward to that third bubble of the GIS platform really proliferating throughout the organization and not being just siloed within IT itself, but having our end users in all the departments and divisions utilizing GIS to its fullest capabilities. So one of the things that we've noticed is that a lot of times GIS is just thought of as mapping and visualization, which is just one component of what GIS is. And Esri has what they have is the common patterns of use. So there are 9 patterns of use that were identified as part of the geospatial strategy of areas that we identified other departments being able to take advantage of. Those patterns of use are mapping and visualization, data management, field mobility, monitoring, analytics, design and planning, decision support, constituent engagement, and sharing and collaboration. So for example, what we've done really well over the years is mapping and visualization, but some of the things we're looking to tap into and take advantage of would be, say, analytics. So for something like our water infrastructure, we have it mapped out very well, but don't have a lot of analytics against it. So one of the things that we'd be looking to do to enable through this process would be to use the analytics portion and be able to do something like identify the affected homes if a particular main break were to happen. So you'd be able to interact with the GIS data, click on a main break location, and then it would highlight for you those affected homes and could generate out like a list of addresses for you to then notify those people. On this slide, there's just some examples of some of the current initiatives and successes that we have had here as the GIS division. The open data portal, which is we're trying to get all of our departments and divisions onboarded onto. The COVID dashboards was another great partnership that we had with Esri. Going to the right is our new public-facing snow route status map, so we can now show in real time the status of the snow routes being cleared to our residents. And then on the bottom portion is our economic development website, and then kind of the assistance that we've done with the Operation Senior Shovel, where we go ahead and pair the seniors and the volunteers together. Another one that's very important for us here in the GIS division is the special census. The special census itself, the analysis and the submitting of the documentation to the Census Bureau would not be possible without the GIS platform. So some of the Advantage Program initiatives that we're looking to stand up once we would have this subscription in place would be system architecture review and design. So we're expecting to onboard the entire city as opposed to just the departments that we have currently. So we're going to need to be able to ramp up our resources behind the scenes to be able to take on the additional users. We're looking to do things like an equity needs assessment and a data discovery. I highlighted kind of the public works example with the water main breaks. We're looking to train staff, both the GIS division and then the staff that we're onboarding within the system, and then using this to help become the innovative leader for GIS in the region and the state. So with the Advantage Program, I just want to highlight again what we're looking to do is support the vision of GIS being used throughout the city as an enterprise business system, utilizing the technology to its fullest capabilities, and ensure the continued success of the GIS enterprise platform. In regards to the budget for this particular item, we were able to negotiate 2023 professional services rates for the entirety of the term, the 3-year term for this particular item. So while typically professional services costs would go up in 24, 25, and 26, we have locked in those rates at 2023 rates for the entirety of the contract.
Questions? Alderman Lash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. couple of years ago, the city conducted a disparity study. I'm just wondering how the EDI needs assessment overlaps with that study and how GIS plays a role in that.
So I'm not
Well,
familiar
first, let me ask, let's start with that. Does GIS play a role in that?
in the disparity study or what we're looking to do with
And how
the.
it overlaps with disparity and EDI?
So what we're looking to do with this particular initiative is identify the data sources that we can use to then inform like future things like the disparity study. We have a large catalog of data within the GIS databases. EDI is one of those that we're looking to shore up through this particular initiative.
But you had no involvement in the disparity study?
Correct. I did not have any involvement in the
Thank you.
disparity study.
Any other questions? Alderman Lesh.
I guess we can just get this presentation attached to the agenda before the next vote.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this is going to go on unfinished per staff.
Okay, we conclude the meeting, Mayor.
Thank you much. Let's go on to the Rules Administration Procedure Committee report. Chairman Ron Warman, can you give that report, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rules Administration Procedures Committee met on January 2nd, 2024, and reviewed the following items. This first item is just an information only, so 23-0987, a recommendation to approve the Alderman Decay for Office of Alderman. Again, that was just information only. Ashley is up and running, so. Next item, 23-1048, a resolution to endorse the legislative action program of the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference for the 2024 legislative session.
Consent.
I'd like
Alderman
to
Lash?
put this on unfinished.
Unfinished.
I have two concerns, which I'll just share with the council if they'd like to see. I absolutely support restoring LGDF funding, which I think is necessary, but I do have concerns about the watering down of the Freedom of Information Act, specifically the police body cam footage and the license plate readers.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, next thing.
Next item is information only again, 23-1057, committee update on tobacco license compliance checks.
Consent.
No objections, I'm going consent.
It was just information only, so
Okay.
no action.
Oh, no action required. I apologize.
Next held item, 22-0211, an ordinance creating section 2-65 of the Code of Ordinances pertaining to aldermanic
Consent.
initiative funds.
Questions before we put this on consent? There are no questions? No objections, item going consent.
And that concludes the Rules Administration and Procedures Committee meeting.
Thank you, kind sir. All right, there is no need for a closed session this evening, and there is no more business to come before.
Motion to adjourn.
Mayor. Motion by,
Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Just real quick, so I walked in after we took the roll call, and since we're not taking individual votes, I just want the record to reflect that I'm present at the meeting.
Oh, yeah, no, we
Have you?
Yeah,
Okay,
reflected
thank
that
you.
as meeting as soon as you walked in, brother. I'm sorry I didn't say that out loud, but I did lean over and tell him that you walked in. Matter of fact, it was Rich that came over and said, Rich Jacobs. Motion made by Alderman Franco to adjourn, seconded by Alderman Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.
Aye.